however.
And one of the companies that's excellent at doing it, the real example is Reckitt Benckiser. Reckitt Benckiser has a variable pay whereby you can have 60% of your annual pay in terms of variable pay at a certain level of work. But they make sure that supply chain, finance, sales, marketing, HR, everybody is absolutely clear of the objectives every single year, every single month.
Clarity is very important because, once again, all of this is based on belief.
Yeah.
It's not enough that your behavior actually affects the bottom line. You have to believe your behavior affects the bottom line because that's going to determine the extent to which you are genuinely engaged. We saw another hand over here.
I don't remember what I was going to say in regards to that point, but going back to the third.
She'll come up with another point anyway.
Having a strong evaluation program, I think this was also a way to constantly improve this stuff. So evaluation and reassessment throughout the process.
And I think evaluation is very important both for the sense of control and the sense of clarity. In a lot of organizations, I speak to a lot of people in the United States about their performance appraisal systems. And if your performance appraisal system is horrible, if it doesn't do a good job actually measuring people's performance, it's very easy for people to believe that their performance will not be rewarded well. Because if you can't measure my performance, you can't reward my performance. If you can't measure my performance, then there's going to be a disconnect between my rewards and my level of effort. And so having a good system that does a good job measuring not only group level performance, but also does a good job measuring individual contributions to group level performance. If you can't measure those two things, you can't reward those two things. And if you can't reward those two things, then people's belief that their effort is going to control those rewards is actually going to be lower.
I also actually meant evaluation of the system itself.
Okay. Yeah.
Not just the individual, but the system itself, like, is this the right?
So secondary,
Yeah.
so there's evaluation at two levels. One is individual performance has to be rewarded well, but also it means that you have to evaluate whether the system is doing a good job accomplishing those things. Sarah, did you have a comment or just earlier?
Just a comment that I think also in terms of that evaluating system needs to come from the employees themselves, and they need to believe that their thoughts will not only be heard, but considered and actually make a difference in the future.
Right. So once again, getting people involved in this discussion, we spent a lot of time yesterday talking about how getting people involved gets us better information. This is an area where we need better information. Employees are going to know what sort of rewards they're interested in. Employees are going to have a good sense of whether the way we're thinking about measuring their behavior is actually going to capture their level of effort. And so by virtue of getting them involved in the discussion, I think this is one of the first points that was raised, they're going to have a stronger sense of ownership, they're going to have a stronger sense of belief. And remember, that's what's going to determine, that sense of belief, that sense of ownership is going to determine whether this actually gets us the outcomes that we want. Rashad?
Also, evaluation system should be fair and communicated because this is the employee voice that try to achieve this level. This is what I'm looking at.
So once again, that clarity, very, very key in this process. Okay, and here, last comment, and then we're going to take a short break.
I heard you saying a good system, the evaluation is doing a good job or not. Do you mean being fair or not?
I think I was speaking specifically about whether the system is doing a good job measuring what's going on in the organization.
Do you mean by that fairness or is something else?
Well, by virtue of being accurate, it's going to be fair, right? So if, for example, let's imagine that you were all going to be evaluated in here in terms of your participation and contribution to our classroom discussion. I could have somebody sitting on the sidelines, and every time you said a word, they count how many words you said, or something like that. And so at the end of the class, I know exactly how many words each of you spoke. Well, first of all, that's not accurate, right? Because we're not really interested in how many words you say. We're interested in how much you contribute, and that may not be a function of how many words you say. We would need somebody who would actually evaluate the quality of your contributions. And so the better the system is, the more fair it's going to be. But the whole point here is the more accurately we can assess your performance, the easier it's going to be for our reward systems to more accurately reward you for your contributions to the organization. So having a good system, a good measurement system, is a good way to make 50%, that seems like a lot. Maybe that's not really fair. There are other things you're supposed to be doing. Maybe 5% isn't fair because it's too little. So fairness is much more subjective. What we're really talking about is that if you want people to believe that their behavior is, or their consequences are controlled by their behavior, then at the very least you need an accurate way to assess their contributions. Because if you don't have that accuracy in terms of assessing contributions, then the whole system is going to fail and people aren't going to believe that it's their effort that eventually controls the rewards that they want. And that's really what this is about. You know, if you want people to be engaged, that's the bottom line. If you want people to be engaged, they have to believe that there is something in it for them to be engaged. And that means I have to know what it is that you want. I have to make sure that the system I have in place for rewarding you is one that provides you a belief that by working harder, you are more likely to get the things that you are interested in. Okay, why don't we stop there? This is